Hello and welcome to the Stronger Than My Excuses show. I'm Julie Watson and I'll be your host for the 8-week pilot program. This is episode 4. We're very excited to be here. So the show is all about not just inspiring people, but actually giving you tools that you can take away and use in your own business or community organisation. We want to help as many micro, small and medium businesses as possible, and community organisations, not-for-profits and charities. So if you're in that spectre, you can really be helped by watching our show and learning from the experts on the panel. So I'd like to just acknowledge that we're meeting on the land of the Darkinjung people, and we really respect this and appreciate that, and we appreciate them and their elders past, present and emerging. Now I'd like to introduce my co-hosts. Firstly, Sharon Burgess. Welcome, Sharon.
Thanks, Julie. Thanks for having me today.
Yeah, Sharon is the coordinator of the Community and Business Women's Network, and this is a subsidiary of the Iris Foundation, who support and raise awareness of suicide prevention. And Sharon's a very busy lady, and I really appreciate you being a co-host, so thank you.
Thanks, Julie.
So I'd like to introduce my second co-host, Adam Rice. Welcome, Adam. Adam is the Principal Director of AJR Counselling, Coaching and Consulting. He's also a credentialed mental health clinician, NLP master practitioner. He's a psychotherapist and a co-joint lecturer at the Faculty of Health and Medicine at the University of Newcastle. And he works out of Budgewoi, so we're really happy to have you on the show, Adam, and thanks
for having me.
Yeah, it's great. So first of all, I'd like to ask Sharon if you could start by introducing our special guest.
Yes, of course. Today we have Jenny Darbin from Gendar Interior Design. Jenny is an award-winning interior designer here on the Central Coast, been in business for over 20 years, based in Wyong and works on the Central Coast, Newcastle and the Hunter Valley. So welcome, Jenny.
Thank you. Lovely to be here.
Yeah, it's great.
After being a nurse for 23 years, Carol started her own business in health and wellness as a massage therapist, a counsellor and a mindfulness coach. She helps midlife women transform their lives through fashion and style. When you look good, you feel good. So please welcome Carol Campbell.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. And look, we really welcome both of you. We're so happy to have you, and I know you've got some great inspiration to talk about today. And I'd also like to thank our sponsor, AJR Counselling, Coaching and Consulting, our major sponsor, I should say, and all of the other sponsors that you'll see appearing on the screen, because we couldn't do it without you. And we do have some spaces still available, so contact us on Stronger Than My Excuses Facebook page and just a private message and we can help you out. I'd also like to thank Philip Manpar and Gary Burgess for their videoing and editing expertise, so thank you.
And please like, comment and share on social media. We want to help as many small businesses, medium businesses out there as we can. Also come and join us here in the studio audience. Everybody has fun, so thanks again to those that were here this morning. And thanks to Nexus Smart Hub here in Wyong for allowing us to use their premises today, so thanks.
Yeah, and remember that every show will give real tips and tools. And so far we've helped people with isolation, fear and guilt. And each week we'll have a new topic. We hope that you'll watch us grow as we get better and better.
Well, we hope so, yes. But look, we are real, we're raw, we're all out of our comfort zone, you know, maybe clearly. But we think we're out there doing it. We're not making excuses. We are the ones that are taking action. So far we've heard from some really wonderful guests, and still to come we have the Central Coast Regional Director of the New South Wales Business Chamber. We have a lawyer, a marketing consultant, an international keynote speaker. We have a radio announcer, a mobile banker, we have an author, and we have lots of other business and community leaders joining us. So please stay tuned.
Today our topic is receiving and giving inspiration. It's a two-way street.
And remember, we're online from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on the day of the broadcast. So please ask any questions and we can respond straight away.
Okay, so my first question is, why do we need inspiration? Surely that as adults, we should just be able to set ourselves a task and then go about achieving it. Jenny, I'm going to start with you. So why the need for this motivation? And when have you found that you've needed to be inspired?
Okay. Well, everyone's lives are very busy these days, and it is hard to stop and think and work out where you want to go. I guess motivation or lack of it, I guess, is a really major mindset in people's minds. And I think motivation and inspiration really go hand in hand. One of my, I guess, key things 10 years ago, I did suffer a spinal injury and I was paralysed. So after successful surgery, I had to learn to walk again. So my mindset was quite low, as you can understand. And my major inspiration was my husband and 2 children. And they would rock up to the hospital and just push me and help me walk up the corridor and make me walk further each day. And that just motivated me. And yeah, my family's my inspiration to this day.
So they're very close to you, which
Absolutely.
means you've got inspiration around you, which is
Yeah.
a great
And
thing.
it was major for my mindset.
Yes.
So if they weren't there to inspire me, I'd probably still be lying in a hospital bed or, you know, not walking and being active like I am today.
And that moves into making sure that you surround yourself with people that can motivate and inspire and,
And positive.
uplift you.
Stay
Yes.
positive on it.
Yeah.
And we all have our bad days, but just, yeah,
Yeah.
tomorrow's another day.
Yes. Exactly. Carol?
Well, for me, inspiration came when I left nursing, which is a profession that you're guided and you have to do things, to suddenly my own business where I needed my own inspiration.
Yes.
I found networking my answer to that. What networking did was inspired me from apathy to looking at my capabilities. What could I do? What was possible? Where was I going? It made me make goals. It made me look at me and my business. So inspiration was very important for me to go from apathy and fear to looking at my possibilities and my amazing capabilities.
Yes. Very interesting. Yeah. And
Yeah, I was also a nurse as well for many years, and my inspiration came actually when I was at a nursing conference when they were going to close down some of the programs that I was after, and I decided to go into business. So I was inspired by I was inspired by the fact that I wanted to actually do more and see and give more back, I think, and as a private practitioner. But inspiration is that motivation, and even despite that at that point in time where things didn't look like they were going to go well, my intuition was actually there, and that kind of, I think, so when you are inspired and motivated, that you actually get pulled towards what you want anyway, regardless of what's going on around it.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shane, when have you found you needed inspiration?
Yeah, well, I think everybody needs inspiration. I think, we can get quite stale in our day in, day out work, and it helps us to create ideas and become more productive as well. So everybody needs inspiration.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I find that, so when we're up into the age of sort of 18, we're taught everything. We're taught everything by our parents. But then we become 18 and suddenly it's like, well, now you have to
You're on your own.
motivate yourself and find your own inspiration. And your parents are always there. I mean, we're always parents to our kids. But, now we need to make the decisions and sometimes that inspiration just isn't there. So you really have to go looking for it. But that's why I think we need role models, and that's so important to be inspired by role models and also hearing stories of other people. That really inspires you when you hear the stories like Jenny's just told her story.
Everyone's got their story.
Everyone.
Everyone has a story, and it's so
It is,
wide,
yeah.
and it's great.
But it is really crucial also to take risks, because Matt Lusted touched on that a couple of weeks ago, that when you take a risk, that's where life really happens. And it's not until you get inspired enough and can really get to that stage where you think, I've got this great idea, now you need to push through that next level. And sometimes you need that extra inspiration. So be careful who you're hanging around, I guess. Lucky we're all here hanging around each other.
Go team.
But I'm just going to go on to our next question now, which is moving into talking about giving inspiration. So I know how important it is to give inspiration, but I'd like to hear from each of you as well on when you may have given inspiration, or you might be offering inspiration and been surprised that someone's actually inspired you back, the very person you're trying to inspire. So when has this happened to you, Carol?
Look, before I go and answer that completely, Julie, I'd just like to touch briefly on what receiving and giving is. If you think about giving and receiving, it's a flow. You need a giver and a receiver to help it flow. And everything flows in the world. You've got your weather patterns, you've got hot and cold. And flowing gives you balance, and balance gives you connection, which is what we all need. So I see giving and receiving as receiving an inflow, giving as an outflow, and you need both for the flow to happen, and the balance and the connection. So I believe I go out each day and try and give something. Now, whether it's a smile, whether it's advice, whether it's inspiration, I believe the giving is important, and I also believe that you receive with gratitude as well. So often there's a disruption of the flow with receiving and giving. Sometimes we give with a purpose and we don't get that purpose back, and suddenly the flow's knocked because you're a bit disappointed that what you gave didn't come back as you would have liked. So you've got the flow that stopped. So it's really important to know what your intention is when you're giving. Receiving with gratitude, we find it very hard as humans to receive, it's much easier to give. So the flow is stopped again because we find it difficult to receive. We feel, oh I'm vulnerable, or no,
Yes.
I don't want
That can happen a lot with people with receiving a compliment even.
Absolutely. And so it stops the flow. We stop the flow, we stop the balance, we stop the connection. So I just wanted to point out that receiving and giving have an actual energy that is very important, whether it's inspiration or whatever we're doing. To go back to your question quickly, Julie, I know our time is limited. I do remember a specific incident where I was at a networking event, quite experienced networker now, seeing a lady struggling and in her new business. So I went over and spoke to her. And I talked about networking skills, which would help relax her. And she took them all on board, but she's very nervous and very shy, and she'd never done this before. And I just left it at that. And I was at a networking event, months later, and I spotted her. Oh my goodness, she was walking her talk. She was doing every tip I gave her.
Fantastic.
And it was so inspiring to see that, because I know how scared she was.
Yeah.
I know how nervous she was. And it also inspired me because, hey, I didn't always walk my talk. So she inspired me to go and do some of the tips I had too. So that was an unexpected inspiration I received months later from my initial contact with this young lady.
That's wonderful, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. What about you, Jen?
Well, that's great, Carol. I'm thinking, wow, very
She's
inspiring.
inspiring you.
I guess my experience came out of the blue for me. I just go about my work day in, day out, and was plodding along, doing quite happily. And I got a call out of the blue from a local kitchen designer. And kitchens and bathrooms is where I started 20 years ago, and then I evolved into full interiors. And she rang and said, I'm designing kitchens at the moment, but I'm looking at expanding into interiors, and I'd really like to know. She said, I don't want to steal your ideas. I said, no, fantastic. I think it's all about collaboration. So we met up for lunch, and we just got on like a house on fire, and we just talked, and it naturally just came out, basically, how she can do this, change this, tweak that, align yourselves with like-minded people. And so it became a regular lunch meeting for us, and now we're great friends. She's accepted a job in Melbourne as a designer, working in a kitchen company. She's expanding into her interior design business, and I caught up with her a month ago in Melbourne. I went to her place of work, and she's doing great guns. So for me to walk in, and she just turned around, she said, thank you so much for that. And it just, I wasn't expecting it, but it was just lovely. And it started a lovely friendship as well.
It's amazing what can come from it.
And that's, I suppose, inspired me back thinking, I'm not doing too badly. I must be doing something right. So a pat on the back, yes, but you have to say, doing okay. It's good.
Sharon, what about you with giving inspiration and...
Yeah, well, here at the, especially at our Community and Business Women's Network, and also with the Because We Care boutique at the Neighbourhood Centre as well.
That's amazing.
We've got a lot of women out there that are needing help, and when they come back and see us after they've got a job or something like that, that's just really inspiring. That's just like, yes, that's why we're here. What we're doing is working. This is just wonderful.
That's amazing.
So, yeah.
So you've inspired them with what you do, and then seeing what they do brings the inspiration back to you. That's
we love
the
it.
flow.
Yeah, that's the flow.
That's the flow.
And
Here
that's
it
the
comes
connection.
It is amazing. What about you, Adam? What's your...
Yeah, well, I learned NLP quite a few years ago, and that's the neuro-linguistic programming, and it was really good to help me change my mindset. I have a colleague who's also a very good friend, and she started her business up, and I inspired her by how I was doing what I was doing by risk taking, or or stepping out of my comfort zone to get somewhere. And I see her doing that now, and that's what that really actually inspires me. And like you said, it's like, yeah, I am doing something right. Like
Yeah.
it's, even though sometimes it can feel wrong.
Yes, that's right.
but yeah, it
It's
does
that
give you that.
self-doubt, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Creeping in.
Yeah,
But we all know from show 2 how to get rid of that.
that's right.
Absolutely, leap of faith.
Yeah, look, I have invited people to join me on some little vlogs that I've been doing, and Jenny's been one of them. And it's amazing how I have found that I did that to start to try to give some inspiration to people out there, and I'm just finding myself completely inspired by the people that are on it. And I'm thinking, almost feeling guilty that I'm taking all this inspiration from the people, whereas I started to try and give inspiration. So it's just that flow again. It's just amazing how that all works. So now I'm just going to move on to the importance of inspiration, and that's pretty much covered already a little bit. But how can we acquire inspiration when we most need it? So what if we're feeling alone or isolated, or even a little bit stressed, or maybe even depressed? What are some of the actions that we can sort of take to get inspired? Adam, I'll go to you on
Yeah,
this.
look, I think stress and depression and anxiety can be really major roadblocks in having any inspiration. But I think taking some time out too, and getting out of your workplace just for a little bit, and experience something else. Like a good example, I'm going skydiving this morning. Jumping out of the plane, something I've never done before. But that's kind of like, it's so far out of my comfort zone. But something will inspire me around that. But we can get stuck by being depressed and anxious. I mean, they are real illnesses as well. And feelings and emotions. But taking that first step and getting out of it, that's probably the best
absolutely.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a real physical thing,
Yeah,
isn't
real
it, to be
physical.
jumping out of a plane?
Yeah.
Yes.
Very physical.
Yeah. So what about you, Carol?
I think for me, is as Adam said, sometimes when you don't feel inspired or you feel down, sometimes you have to validate that. You just have to be miserable. You just have to sit there and know that, oh, it's okay not to know what to do next. When I feel like that, I often give myself a time limit. I might be feeling a bit sad for the day, and I go, okay, 3 o'clock this afternoon, I'm going to get out. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to meet up with someone. I'm going to acknowledge my sadness, validate the fact that I'm not feeling on top of it, listening to my inner experience, and then 3 o'clock comes along, bang, I get into it. And I find that's really helpful. I think acknowledging that you're not on top of it, don't always try to push through it, and giving yourself a time limit when you're acknowledging that, and then get out of it. I find that really helpful.
That's really good, a time limit. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, be miserable. Oh, 3 o'clock, let's get out.
What do
Well,
you think about the importance of
Oh, well, like
inspiration?
Carol said, it's about accepting that you can't be on top of the world all the time, and that's human nature.
Yeah.
Yes. We're all real people, and I think it's great that, I suppose, aligning yourself with positive people is a major thing. Being around negativity is just going to draw you down. So the importance of not staying positive, but just knowing that tomorrow is another day. Exercise is a huge thing for me.
Yes.
Get the endorphins going. A walk. I've always been a morning person, and I just love. First thing I do is open all the blinds and the shutters in the house, and there's that sun rising, and I know, yep, today's a good day. It's great, and I just think it's for me. Being in Facebook industry groups also, because you do feel quite isolated working on your own. Even though you're seeing clients day in, day out, you're isolated in your office, and it's easy to shut yourself away. But I think the networking is a massive thing, having that support. And you don't know what, I always find when I go to a network group, I'm not about promoting my business, I'm about talking and learning things from other people.
Connecting.
Yeah, and for me that's why I do
and
network.
getting
And
inspiration.
finding the right network group. Not every network group's
Is going to
For
fit
you.
for you, that's
so
right.
finding that right, whether it's an industry-based, a women's-based one, anything like that, it's important. My other one is an industry-based Facebook closed group, a forum. For me, a lot of us designers do work on our own, and by sounding off each other, and someone will put a post, like we have a Wednesday whinge day, we have a Friday, we have all these different days, and I actually look forward to getting onto Facebook. I should be working, but when I get onto Facebook in this closed group, it's actually become one of my most active things on Facebook. And we have a good laugh about it, and then someone will say, I'm having trouble with a client, how can I improve my terms of contract, all that sort of thing. So it's a nice safe space as well. And sometimes it's not even industry related. Someone will I'll put up a picture of a cute puppy eating some plans I was drawing on the other day. It's had the most hits it's ever had. So
Yes, I saw that.
it's very cute.
Very cute, yeah.
Sharon, my turn. Exactly. We just need to join a network, whether that be your local Chamber of Commerce or a local, small business group network or a women in business network. You need to connect. We've had members that are coming along now, but I remember getting an email from a particular lady saying, Sharon, I work from home. I just feel so isolated. Is this something that is for me? And I said, absolutely. Come along. We'll look after you. So, and she's connecting with other women, and they're meeting for coffee once a week, and it's just
you just never know where it'll take you.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
The glorious thing about it, isn't it?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's really great. It's funny because inspiration is a strange concept, because it seems to be the more you look for it, the harder it is to find sometimes. But about 8 years ago, when I needed some inspiration, when I hit a down point in my life, I found my own article on the computer that I'd written years before, and it completely inspired me. And the article went on about my years on dialysis and having over 2,000 intravenous needles and 32 admissions to Royal Prince Alfred, and how I ran a business the whole time. I was a surf lifesaver, I was the soccer mum, I was on the committees of both. And I read that and went, oh my goodness, I'm inspiring myself here, reading my own article. Why didn't I ever publish that? And it was through fear and doubt and things like that I didn't. But I found my own inspiration. And that's when I realised I need to be telling people, you've got your own story. Look back at what you've done to inspire yourself, rather than always thinking other people might be doing better or different. That doesn't matter. Look back at what you've done, where you've come from, what you've already achieved, and then you can start to be grateful for what you've got, and you will start to inspire yourself. It's quite amazing. So my little story, but
Good one.
Everybody's got a story.
everybody has a
I love
story.
it. I love it.
Yeah, that's right. So I just want to ask you now if I can get your final points on inspiration, and this is something that people can actually do. So it's an action tool that people can do. We've only got, not very long, but if you can start with Carol.
Look, I'd like to suggest just two things. Join a networking group. Big companies
that
are
was mine.
very well inspired and achieve great things, but they have their team behind them. We don't have that. We're usually sole practitioners. Join a network group, and that's your team behind you. When you have your team and you go to your networking groups, go with the mindset of receiving and giving. Always be grateful for anything you get, and always give graciously.
Very good.
The flow. That's the flow. And the flow is the connection. And what do we need in business? Connection.
Connection.
That's right.
That's how you'll do it.
Wonderful.
Well, I'll come back to aligning yourself with positive people. Just again, that might be in the form of a network group, or not even business related, but just that positive outlook that you've got. You need to positive people, because the negativity will just drag you down deeper.
Yep. Adam?
Yeah, I agree, Jenny. I think surrounding yourself with people that are authentic and inspire you is
Authentic,
really
yes.
important.
Very good.
But also to find. I find inspiration in kind of reading books or seeing people that have actually made an impression on me or inspired me in some way, and how they've got to where they've gotten. And they could be really well-known people, or it could be just somebody that I've just met at a networking meeting. But find the inspiration in that. Find people that inspire you to help you move on.
Yeah.
And my tip to take away was join your local Chamber of Commerce or a local networking group, definitely.
Yes.
You don't have to be isolated. There's connection groups out there for you, so and a flow for you.
Yes,
So
the flow.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And I'll make the point to look back and and look at what you've done, back yourself, and look at how you may have already inspired other people as well as other people inspiring you. So try to get some of your own inspiration from within. So hopefully we've given some good tips today. I think we have.
Well, thank you, Julie. I've had the best time.
Okay.
I was so nervous.
We've done a good job. Thank you. So I would like to thank everyone for their contributions today. It's been really incredible, and I think I always get inspired again from having you, the guests here. And I'd like to thank our sponsors again, AJR Coaching and Consulting, our major sponsor, and our film crew again. A round of applause for everyone. Thank you.
Okay, so next week we want you to come along and watch. We've got, our topic is procrastination, breathe, think, do. And our guests next week are Nick Bowditch of Nick Bowditch Proprietary Limited and Paula Martin, who's the Regional Director of New South Wales Business Chamber here on the Central Coast. So Paula's
that would be a
amazing,
good
so
one.
that's going to be a good one.
And they're two guests who have moved through their own career paths and businesses, and they really understand what the importance of helping other people and helping small business in particular to be stronger than their excuses.
And remember, you can watch us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And you can also see a link for Twitter and the IGTV page, and you can listen on podcast. Please ask a question, leave a comment, share with people that you know, or just simply like us.
Yes.
Yeah. Give us a like.
We like to be
You like it.
That'll inspire us.
But look, yeah, I'd really love to thank our guests again, Jenny Darbin, thank you. And Carol Campbell, really wonderful to have you. And my co-host Sharon Burgess. And Adam Rice.
Thank you.
And we will see you all next week. Bye for now.
Bye.